Hi, everyone. Just want to wish you a happy Halloween and happy Diwali. It's that time of year. The tribe is back in the house, and we're gonna talk about some great stuff today. Make sure you watch this video, though. I'm Angie Dhillon.
And I'm Rose Dhillon.
And I'm Alvin Dhillon.
And I just realized I think I forgot to introduce myself in one of our video segments because we had a big fight just before. So anyhow, that's the way it goes. Thanks for tuning in. I'm just going to give you a quick disclaimer here. Growing up in a Western world and having Eastern values, our parents always wanted us to just make sure that we never lost our heritage and our culture. So every year, sometimes this is one of those years where Halloween is on the 31st, and then on the 1st, it's going to be Diwali. So I know Diwali is something to do with the way the moon, the moon sets or something like that, or the way the moon rises, or something to do with the moon is all I know. But this year is one of those years where we're navigating two cultures. So hence why I'm a cheerleader or a football player. Tried to do that with my Indian bindi. So part of my Indian heritage is here with me, and this is my costume. Rose?
I'm just trying to be like Michael Jackson, just rocking the Michael Jackson.
You kind of look like Janet Jackson, though.
Yeah, I think it's a cross between the two. I don't really figure it out. I bought this thing a long time ago, and I was like, what was I thinking? And I found a place to wear it now. So before I give it away to somebody, it's going to be on this episode.
Yeah, you're like, remind me of Janet Jackson in Rhythm Nation.
Oh, I was trying to go for the Michael Jackson look.
Yeah.
All right.
And Al, your costume?
I want to be a cool guy. So this is my cool Indian guy outfit.
Nice. Okay, good stuff. Let's get into a win of the week segment. Rose, over to you.
Okay. I think this is very, very cool. The Optimus robot. If you haven't seen this, you need to go check out the Optimus robot. It is so cool. A little scary, I'm not gonna lie, because it played paper, rock, scissors. It was pouring drinks. It was dancing. And I'm gonna buy one of these things when it's ready to go. And I will add the little clip in here when I make this the short reel. But I just want people to just start realizing that the robots are coming. They're coming a lot faster than you think.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was cool. I saw that video. I was watching it. I was like, oh, this is like that movie I, Robot.
Yeah.
Oh, this is so interesting. My win is actually really cool. Finally, Rose bought me a thoughtful gift that actually required her to go outside of Burlington. So that's when I was like, oh, this is when she said she bought me a gift. I thought it was like the mug she got me last week that had a saying that like I probably would even never say, but that's another conversation. But check this out.
Wow.
It's a holographic Nipsey painting picture. This is like right up my alley. So I'm going to be putting this in my room, and this is going to be my daily motivation. Thank you, Rose.
You're welcome.
Very cool. I have a great win. I have been waiting to see an ENT. I've been on the wait list for 1 year to see an ENT, and I finally received a phone call. So I'm super excited. The ball is going to get rolling on me getting some testing done to see why I can't breathe on one side of my nose. So that is a huge win for me. I'm excited about that. Okay, today we are, we're talking about how we blend Halloween and Diwali celebrations together. Growing up in the West, I want to speak to you, Rose. What did Halloween mean to you growing up, and what was Diwali like for you?
So Halloween was fun. I mean, I'm a candy lover, so I loved getting dressed up and going and trick-or-treating. We used to trick-or-treat till like 10 o'clock at night, right? Today's kids ain't got nothing, man. We used to go out and trick or treat. So I love that Halloween fun, just being somebody you're not, channeling whatever energy you want. And then for Diwali it was always hard to try to blend, I think, both sides together. I didn't really have a good understanding of Diwali. I just knew it was firecrackers and candles, and mom made a ton of food. And so that to me was just, it was something that she looked forward to every year. And I think that's what got my excitement, was how happy it made her. Yeah.
Okay, Elle, what are your thoughts? What do you remember about Halloween and Diwali?
The same thing. Usually it was the families, usually cousins come over. One of my uncles would always have fireworks, firecrackers. So that was like the highlight, especially for boys. We loved that kind of stuff. And we'd go out there and blow like now that I think about it, he probably bought like $500 worth of firecrackers back then. And we would sit there for 2-3 hours in the cold blowing out the fireworks. And then you go inside and there's a bunch of food. The one thing I remember that I never enjoyed was I knew when Diwali was coming, it was called major cleaning of the house the week before. We're talking like move everything, move the cabinetry out of the kitchen and clean behind it, move all the fridges out, move the house, move everything, and then clean it all and put it all back.
That's the only thing. I love the food aspect, but mom goes crazy. She becomes like Molly Maid and like on steroids or something. Like
I don't
just
know where she got the energy from, because she would do all that work. She would usually make us do a lot of it. Most times we just take off, but it was like seeing her do all that work. And when you see her on actually Diwali day, she was always so exhausted.
I know. That's why I feel like I would not do this.
And then the worst part is she would make so much food sometimes, especially the last like few years when now family's getting bigger, we're kind of celebrating yourself. She would still make the same amount of food, and there's 5 people in the house.
Yeah.
And we'd have to eat the same thing for like 4 days after that. That's what I remember. Thank you, Mom.
Oh yeah, Diwali is a great time because it's you know the beauty of your culture and why we celebrate it. And Mom is really big on Diwali. Mom is actually really big on a lot of our Indian celebrations and holidays in our culture. But Diwali is big for me just because Mom always makes these amazing treats and feasts, and it's that one time of the year that you can just go ham and eat all this really great stuff. And I think now I'm starting to realize that as our parents are getting older, we might want to learn some of those recipes that Mom makes, because my mom makes the best pakoda recipe. So if you have not had them, they're called like potato fritters, but they are the best. And I just realized that I think one of us should probably learn that recipe, Rose, because you love the way she makes that.
No, the best was every year she made this dish for so long and it would never get eaten and it would always go to waste. Aloo bacon. Nobody wants to eat that, and yet she would still make it like some sort of tradition.
Yeah, and we have to tell our listeners, for those listeners that don't know what aloo bacon is, it's potato and eggplant curry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's as gross as it sounds.
Yeah. And sometimes Mom will add
there's peas in there.
We're like, Mom, stop making this. Yeah. We're not a fan of this curry. This
dish. It's not good when you think kaddu kash is better than that.
And which is pumpkin curry.
I like pumpkin curry.
That's what I mean. That's better than the aloo bacon.
I like pumpkin
That's when you know you got problems.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I find that when you make pumpkin curry, it has to go with the puri, and that's deep fried. So that's another double whammy.
Yep.
Now we're talking about the foods here.
Yep.
Okay, let's pivot back here. See, this is how we have to do this when we navigate between Halloween and Diwali. And leading up, we had so many years where Diwali would be. Has Diwali always been in November, or sometimes has it been in October?
I think in between October and November.
It usually goes back and forth. Okay, so it's always been pretty close.
Consistent.
It's been pretty close to Halloween. So this is what we've done. It's like a yo-yo. You go this way, and then you come back this way. You go this way, and you go that way. Let's talk about our costumes. Do you remember any of those Halloween costumes growing up? What was your best costume that you're still so proud of today?
I didn't really have any good costumes, to be honest with you. I don't think I was actually, come to think of it, besides the trick-or-treating part, I wasn't a crazy Halloween person. Like I put on wigs, and we would always put on wigs and stuff. But yeah, I come to think of it, as I got older, I didn't care so much for Halloween. So yeah, because I would see girls dress up like I'm the slutty nurse. I'm like, God, why is it like the only time you can do something like that, or the maid? And all the outfits were always very degrading towards women, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Al, what about you? What coolest costume that you ever had? Or did you ever make your own costume? Some people make their own costume. I
made my own, but I also did find though, we didn't like really celebrate Halloween that much because it always landed on a weekday.
Yeah.
So you always had school the next day. So it wasn't like a big Halloween party that you go to. And most people didn't really throw big Halloween. It was always like the week of,
the weekend before.
So it was never actually on Halloween. But I think I just dressed up the usual costumes that was out there. And then I remember a movie called Dead Presidents came out, and these guys these are ex-military vets, and they go to rob a bank, and they wear they paint their face with white, but all around their lips and their eyes are black, so they look like a panda. But it was kind of cool. And after that, we did that for like 5 years. We started painting our faces like we were going to rob a bank.
Mm-hmm. Remember when that Scream mask came out?
Yeah.
That was a good mask.
I like when, I think there's a Nightmare on Elm Street Freddy Krueger mask. I used to love the mask, even though he's like, now that I'm older, I'm like, they used to scare me. Yeah. But when I was younger, and mind you, I've got a decade on Al, and I've got 5 years on Rose. So Halloween was a big deal when I was growing up. And I don't recall much of the costumes, like exactly what I, dressed up. But what I do remember is, when I grew up in Richmond, there was obviously, this was Richmond, BC. This is going back in the 80s. There was a lot of racism at that time, a lot of prejudice, and I just never fit in. Like I didn't fit in. I think there was only maybe 5 of us South Asian kids in the entire school at the time. And for me, Halloween was a time that I could forge another identity and be another character. So it was like an escape for me where I could play that person one day and I wasn't Angie Dhillon. Like I was just, I actually fit in with the kids, or what are you dressing dressing up, or, and sometimes you'd get treat bags from like teachers would bring them, or students would do an exchange of things, of candies. But I just remember that was like the time where I was like, oh my God, for the one day, like this is so exciting. And you would wear sometimes your costume to school and you would feel like you're included. So for me, that's what I just remember the most. And, about that time. And of course, growing up now, when you have those, Halloween parties over the years that family and friends do, I would just dress up as a witch or something like that, something really like easy. But I never really just realized that. I think it was just that factor of just being afraid of like ghosts and things. But I, at the same time, was trying to balancing, like, I'm not really comfortable in my own skin, so I should probably dress up and play another character. So that was the thing, like the whole goblins and monsters and that kind of stuff, right?
Yep.
Oh, and speaking of monsters, even though this episode is not about this, but I do want to quickly tie this in because it is a topic right now that everybody's talking about. Have you two started to watch the Monsters documentary that's on Netflix of the Menendez brothers?
Yes.
Okay, do you guys think they're monsters? Because I don't think they are.
I don't think they are either.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. To them, now I'm thinking about like the parents were the monsters.
Yeah.
But I think that how they kill their parents, if I was in that position, I probably would have done that a lot sooner. But I think they got just old enough to actually have the courage where they couldn't take that anymore. But so disturbing.
Disturbing.
I had to take a few days break from watching it because it was just... It was disturbing and disheartening to see that this is a dad and a mom, mostly the dad, doing this to their own children, which is another human being doing to their own human beings, like is so disturbing. Okay,
do you believe their story? Because there's a lot of people out there that saying that they're not credible, they're making something up, or they made it up at that time. And I'll tell you something why I do feel that their story is credible here. And this is going back in the 1980s. Like, men at that time, I don't think would even think to say my dad is molesting me or doing something to me until it was, right? Because for them to be even speaking about this subject back then, there has to be some sort of truth or something that's carrying weight to why they felt they needed to share that, right?
That's the moment I knew that this happened to him was when I found out how they killed their parents. Because no child grows up thinking about murdering their parents. I don't care what anyone says. Nobody ever thinks about, they might say, God, I hate my parents, I want to run away, or they're very stressful. But the way they took their parents out, that's a lot of hate. That's a lot of anger. And something really bad had to happen to you for you to want to do that.
Yeah. For you to say, I need this to end.
Yes.
Like whatever's happening to me, the only way for me to end it is if I killed them.
And if anybody says otherwise, are people who are ignorant and obviously have no understanding of trauma and how these things affect you and what it ends up doing to you. So no, when I found out how they went down, I was like, no, something really bad had to happen.
And I think what helps make the story credible is that when that guy from Menudo came out to say his dad molested him when he was the friend. So the fact that other people were able to come out, then that substantiated their claim to say that, okay, he didn't just do it to his kids, he was doing it to other people. And I think back then, if there was more technology, everybody would have heard about it. But they were also, it's embarrassing. Like, imagine if it happened to me, I would probably feel really embarrassed. I don't want to talk about it and not tell anybody. Just pretend living my life without dealing with it. But I think that they had it so bad and it was so brutal that that's what pushed them to that point.
I agree.
And I think they use money as a way of like, maybe this will help make me feel better.
Yeah, I agree that, I finished watching the segment. And for those of you that love true crime, this is a really interesting documentary. And of course, form your own opinion. But when I watch it, I've watched enough documentary and true crime shows like Jeffrey Dahmer, Ted Bundy, that you start to understand there's a pattern with, people when they kill someone. So when I found out the way they kill their parents, like, close range and the way they, shot them without giving too much story away, I'm like, this is very personal.
Yes.
When you attack somebody like that, this is a lot of pain that you're holding on to. It's not like, it's almost like you looked at your parents straight in the eye and you're like, look, this is coming for you type of thing. And I do remember that time. I think I was in high school when I remember hearing about them. And I just remember mom and dad saying something like, they went and killed their parents or they killed their parents. And it was something so taboo at the time that look at what these rich kids went and did. And of course, now the story is unfolding and there's so much more information now. But I remember maybe my parents were afraid of us, thinking that we were going to go do this to them.
I think they think that once kids hear other kids doing something like that, it becomes okay. But no kid ever will think of doing this. I've never known any friends of mine in high school, elementary school, where we ever ever remotely discussed anything like this. So that's what I mean by like something
Well, you
really.
say things like a kid, like I hope you die, or like I hope you.
Yeah,
like,
if
leave
you're
me-
really angry because
when
they hit you something.
But like for no human being, even if they wanted to, you have to have a lot of courage to go look at someone in the eye and then pull the trigger. And they didn't just like shoot them from far away once accidentally and say, "Shit, I regret it." They fired like 20 shots into both of them until they made sure that they were completely dead, and then shot them both in the face.
That's hate. That's a deep level of hate.
It's like a vengeance thing.
Yep.
Like, this is the only way I'm going to be free is if I take you out.
Yeah, and you know what I was also thinking? I don't know the stats on this, and I didn't even look it up, but wouldn't Halloween be a perfect time for someone to commit a crime? Because how are you supposed to describe your intruder? Like,
isn't that when they say that Halloween does bring a lot of crime?
I think so.
Yeah,
because
they'll
like
use it as an excuse for
right,
like,
you're wearing masks
Yeah.
and stuff, and how you're supposed to identify somebody. So I just thought that out. Okay, but the Menendez brothers, because there's a lot of buzz now, there's a lot of celebrities taking interest into their case now. Apparently, I believe next month in November, there's going to be a hearing where they can potentially actually get out, and I think they've served 35 years. In
That's
jail.
a lot of time.
Yeah.
And you know what people don't realize, whether they're in jail or out of jail, you still have to live with your mind for the rest of your life. You have to still live with yourself and what you've done for the rest of your life. So I don't think people often think we put them in prison and make them suffer, but the mind is suffering, whether it's in prison or not. I don't know. That's my thought process.
What is your guys' verdict? Do you think that the Menendez brothers will get out of jail? Al, what are your thoughts?
I think so, because 35 years, and given that the facts they have now about like the fact that they suppressed a lot of that evidence during that time, that means it was available, but they somehow suppressed it. That's what was sad. I think they'll get out based off like compassion grounds, because I think there's enough people out there saying that, their parents were monsters. And I think the mother was partly, she knew of it, but I think she was also doing like some weird, strange stuff.
Turning a blind eye. Rose,
I don't know if I believe in the judicial system, to be honest with you. I don't know if I want to say that. If I was a judge and I read this case and I got all the facts and I looked at it, I probably would say they've served their time, they can be released. Given the knowledge we have now and the understanding of what traumatic experiences can do to people. But I don't think, I think that we often think that lawyers and judges have this understanding, but I think they see so much darkness that they just turn that empathy aspect and that compassionate part of themselves off, and often make decisions on just what the public wants. Like, no, they should be set in jail forever. And like, it's like a win and we close it. You know what I mean? It's never like, it's just too black and white. There's just no gray. And I would hope that people will do the right thing, but I really don't think that's going to happen.
Oh, you think they're going to stay?
Yeah. I just think that there's going to be too much outcry, too many angry people are going to come out and scream, and they don't want to educate themselves and understand what really happened. They just want to say, well, they killed their parents. They should be in jail forever.
Yeah. Well, here's my take on this here. I mean, I don't even know how it's going to turn out, but I do hope they get out, because I'll tell you what I know is prior to them killing their parents, up to that point, they just did petty stuff. It wasn't like that they were involved in any sort of crime. They didn't have any criminal convictions or anything. So this was like the first major, I guess, big high crime that they committed. But the other reason I think now that they might get a fair trial is at the time of their trial, there was another high profile case that was going on, which was the OJ Simpson case. So the fact that OJ Simpson got away with it, they can't have, I feel like the lawyers at that time couldn't have two high profile cases and both people walk away. So I feel that they had to kind of overlook and say, okay, look, we have these tapes, these kids 100% owned it. This is a slam dunk. Let's put them in, put them into jail. OJ, we can't 100%, commit, we can't convict him. And what was that slogan? Like, if the glove doesn't fit, you must quit.
Yeah.
So he had this catchy phrase, and the poor, Menendez brothers, I just think that their case was like, no, we got to like pin it on somebody. There's no way that two people that have supposedly killed or allegedly killed someone are going to get away. So I do hope that they do get a fair shot this time around. And, serving 35 years, you have done your time. And I think, coming out now, I think they're about 55 years old. They also, I think one of them has a child and they were married also while they're in jail. So there's people out there that, wanted to be with them.
Wow.
Yeah. I know.
Wow.
Shocking, right?
Okay, yeah.
So, that was just we just went sideways, because when I started saying goblins and monsters, and then right away in my mind, the Menendez brothers just flashed up. I just want to say to you guys here for us, Do you remember any specific cultural traditions that we made a point to include in our Halloween festivities? Do you remember doing anything?
Halloween, I don't recall anything.
No?
Because Halloween, it was always around the time of Diwali. So it was
Yeah, it was
Diwali
hard.
was trumped, especially in an Indian household.
Right.
Yep.
Halloween was nowhere to be found. It was just trick-or-treating and dressing up. But Diwali was the thing that brought all the family over.
And I will say, I think our uncle who's passed away, he
Yeah.
did a good job of celebrating Halloween, and he would always do Michael Jackson Thriller.
Yeah.
He would make a big deal about that. So I think that when we were younger, because he moved here very young, that he really made us get more involved in the Halloween aspect. But our parents really did like Al said, the Diwali trumped Halloween for us. But he did a good job, because I always remember walking over across the street and hearing Thriller, and he'd have it blasted on the thing.
Yeah, the subwoofer
Thriller
and
was
everything.
on all the time. Yeah,
That was a house that had all the action. I mean, I don't like fireworks or firecrackers, but I remember, I think that was the headquarters.
Yep.
All my cousins would come over from my dad's
Yep.
side of the family. My uncle actually, and another uncle would actually take all of the kids trick-or-treating. And back then they gave out good candy.
I remember sometimes we'd be like, no, we want to go a few more houses. And you're like, okay, we got 10 more minutes. And no, we can't be bothering people at their houses late at night.
Yeah.
And then we come back and he has to dump it out, go through all the stuff. And then for like every 2 he gives us, he keeps one for himself.
Yeah, I remember that.
That's what I
remember that. I took
He's like, this one I think is open. I'll have to check this one later.
Yeah, that's what I love the most. Actually, now when you play it back in your mind,
uncle
I
was fun.
remember my uncle would open up the bags and he would keep like a little secret stash for himself.
Totally.
The worst is when some of the neighbors give you peanuts. And we were like, oh, we're not going to eat this, but he would eat it.
Yes, he loved
He'd
it.
be like, oh,
Yeah.
more nuts for me.
Yeah. And when we say neighbors, it's because we were in an Indian community. So Indian people thought it was okay to just take a handful of peanuts out of thing and put it in your thing.
Yeah, no, those were some good memories when I think back. Our uncle, God rest his soul. He's not here. He is here with the Coca-Cola, but, we didn't realize that the impact that he had on us, because Alvin, you're right. Like mom, our parents were really big on Diwali, and that was mom's thing, because she was busy cleaning the house that she didn't have enough time to focus on, hey, let me go get their costumes and their outfits.
Yeah.
And I remember our uncle was very big, because I used to think,
They probably thought Halloween was like the devil's holiday.
Yeah.
Like, no, we don't celebrate this.
because uncle would take you and Rob to go get your costumes and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
Dress you guys up.
Yeah, that was some good things.
Yep.
So do we have any advice to those kids out there? And by the way, after like 7:30, I don't see any kids come to my house.
We
I'm
have
like,
Dude, I've
nobody.
had no kids the last 3-4 years. I buy
last year
chocolate.
we had I counted like 8 kids come.
Yeah,
they're
they don't
less
go
and less now. I look where
And
they're
our, and our neighbor still has a lot of little kids, so I don't know where they're going.
Yeah.
And no one's coming to my house because I go get the good candies.
Yeah, me too.
Yes.
I was so mad last year. I was like, damn it, I'm going to eat all this.
We had to eat all the candy that was left over.
That's why this year now I'm like, what should I do? Should I go get some healthy treats that if the kids that don't come,
Don't be that
Don't be that person.
Yeah.
No.
They're probably going to throw that in the bushes when they walk out.
In where I live in my townhouse, we're all doing an event on Halloween. So all the kids and adults, we're all going to go trick or treating.
cool.
So that'll be fun.
Yeah, I think that aspect of safety now, right? There's a lot of crazy drivers out there.
Crazy people.
Poisoning food and things like that.
And it's just not safe anymore. I do know a lot of people go to the malls, the malls hold it and kids get their treats that way.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think we got really excited about the Menendez brothers, Halloween, Diwali, hence why we're wearing the outfits and blending our two cultures together. I'm dressed up as a football player or a cheerleader, but I think it's
With a
football.
bindi?
Yeah, with a bindi, which is part of my heritage. So it's blending 2 in 1. But that's our take. It's happy Halloween, folks. And also to all of our Indian listeners, happy Diwali to you. Hope it's a prosperous one. And Diwali is also the festival of lights. It's actually about, getting rid of darkness and letting light come in. So we are shedding love and light to all of you out there and wishing a prosperous Diwali. Happy Halloween to all the kids out there. Hope it's great. Hope you get some really amazing chocolate bars. The tribe is going to be back next week. Think about a win of the week. Stay safe and we'll see you next week. Bye for now.
See ya.